Hey, what's up everyone? This is Mick from CameraBits, here to do a demonstration and answer questions about photo mechanic. Great to see everyone, glad you could make it. Hello and welcome. We're going to be doing a demonstration here of photo mechanic, some basic functionality. I'm going to go over a little bit of an overview of some preferences I think you should know, and basically just talk about what you might want to do with photo mechanic. If you're new to photo mechanic, it should be helpful for you that if you maybe have been using it for a while but are curious about some certain things, feel free to ask questions. You can put questions in the chat box, and I'm monitoring that, and I will keep an eye on that. And I can hopefully answer questions that you may have. All right, so without further ado, let's go on and get started. We are looking here. Actually, just let me swoop on over to that. There we go. There is photo mechanic. This is the what is photo mechanic? First of all, let's answer the really basic questions. Photo mechanic is a photo viewer. It's a metadata tool. It's a file organizer. We call it a workflow hub. A lot of different things. Photo mechanic does so many different things for so many different people that it's hard to pin down what it is exactly for. Other than viewing photos, organizing them, and managing them to the best of its ability and to the best of its speed. The reason photo mechanic exists is to handle a lot of photographs very, very quickly. It was originally developed for sports photographers to be able to go through images and get those images up onto the wire services or to their publications very, very fast. If you can imagine shooting 300 pictures and needing to get some of the highlights onto the wire by the end of the first quarter, that's what you would use photo mechanic for. Photo mechanic is not what we call a pixel editor, or it doesn't do post-processing, things like compositing, color adjustments, exposure corrections, things like that. Photo mechanic does try very hard to interface very well with other post-processing solutions like Lightroom, Photoshop, Capture One, products like that. So, but yes, a very, very typical workflow for many people will be to shoot an event, use photo mechanic to copy those images from their memory card onto their computer, at the same time add some crucial metadata like keywords or captions or copyright information. Use photo mechanic to go through the images in what's known as a culling session, to pick the winners or pick the keepers or pick the ones you want to work on, identify the rejects and get rid of those so that you're not cluttering your systems with those images. In just a moment, I'll be doing a sample ingest. Ingest is what we call the process of copying files from a memory card to your computer. And I just wanted to point out that we very strongly recommend that you always do that step first whenever you're working with images. Do not edit or add metadata to images while they are on your card. It will make your card fill up. You'll be adding data to the card. And it's always a little bit risky whenever you're working with your only copies of original images on a card. So it's much safer, much faster, and much more efficient to copy them over to your hard drive first, or your solid state drive, or whatever drive you're working on. Copy them first, and then start your workflow from there. All right, so photo mechanic, as I said, is a photo viewer, and here we are looking at a selection of photos. Now, photo mechanic looks at images as they exist on your computer. So what do I mean by that? These are images that are in a folder on my computer. I have my hard drive, I have my pictures folder, my demo folder, and this folder is the Charmy Pena images. Charmy Pena is an amazing wedding photographer. She's a friend of CameraBits and allowed us to use some of her images in this demo, so thank you to Charmy. But we're looking at those images now. So these, if you right-click on this and say Reveal in Finder, you'll see that these are the actual images in that folder. So in other words, these images are not sort of brought into Photo Mechanic into a catalog or anything like that. They just look, if I delete an image from here, I delete it from my hard drive. If I move it, if I drag this over to a different folder, it's going to actually move folders. Photo Mechanic operates on images as they exist. It doesn't operate on copies. It doesn't operate on a separate database for tasks like this. It's just used to manage the images as you see them already. So that's an important thing to keep in mind when working with Photo Mechanic. This area we call the contact sheet. This is the thumbnails of all the images in this folder. Over on the left side here, we see the navigator, which is a view of your computer, your hard drive, whether it's this computer, whether it's connected drives, like there's an SSD I have connected here. I can access that. A couple of other SSDs plugged in here. The favorites pane up on top is just for folders that you might be using an awful lot, and you can just remember them quickly. So if I am always going into this demo folder, I can drag this up into the favorites, and there it is. So I have a few favorites there. And then down here we have some tasks, some status tasks. These statuses are related to Photo Mechanic Plus, which I'm not going to cover in this demo, but when you see things like copying files from a memory card, we'll see the status there. So I'll point that out when that happens. Up at the top here, we see, here's a tab. Now you can open up multiple contact sheets at a time. If I double click here, it's going to open up this folder. Now you can see up here, I can switch between different tabs up here. You can close that tab. Yeah, and then here we'll see you can change the size of the thumbnails if you want to have a better view of images, or you need to get a lot more on the images on your contact sheet. You can do that here. Here's where you sort the contact sheet. It defaults to file name because that's the fastest sort, but you can sort by capture time, modification time, color class rating. You can create your own arrangement. If you choose this, you can actually then start dragging images into your own arrangement if you need to do that. You can sort by anything that has any bit of metadata that's in the file. You can actually sort by that by creating these custom sorts. In fact, these 10 slots are all sorts that you can edit. These are just the 10 most common that we see, but file type, sort by serial number, sort by file size, any bit of metadata that you can find in the file, you can do a sort by that. So it's here. You can, so we'll go back to file name. You can reverse that sort if you want to go backwards. And then here's what we're viewing. We can either view all the images, just the selected images, just the tagged images, or only untagged images. So as I come in here, and if I click on an image to select it, I can hold down Option. I can so there I've selected 3 images, and if I go through here, just view the selected. It doesn't delete any of those photos. It just filters them out of this view. And speaking of filters, now we have over here the star rating filter and the color class filter. And we can now use those to whittle down images as well. Say if I only wanted to look at images that have been rated 3 stars and above, I can deselect 0, 1, and 2 stars just by clicking. I'll click and drag there. And now we have 3 stars and above. So if I only want to look at the 3 stars, I can do that. And I don't want to look at everything. I can go and re-enable those. A shortcut to know here is the Option key, and I'm working on a Mac, so I'll be using Mac keyboard shortcuts. I'll try to note the PC or the Windows shortcuts as I go along. But if I hold on Option on a Mac, or I believe it's Alt on a Windows machine, and click just the 3 star, it automatically deselects the others. That's a very quick way to be able to do that. And then if you hold down Option again and click, it undoes that. These also work together. So this is the same idea, but with the color classes. And these can be used in conjunction. So say I only want to see the blue images. I'm going to do that. Option click there. And maybe I only want the blue 3 stars there. And now I've narrowed my view here. So if you're doing a cull, you might label these images. You might say I want to edit my 3 stars and above. And then you can start working in those. It didn't delete the other images, as I said. It just hid them from this view, but we can go back and reset that. So that's one thing to know. Each one of these things now, each one of these thumbnails, we see some metadata about the image. There's the file name. There's the capture time here, the date on the image. And then I have it currently set to show the actual camera. This can be customized. I'm going to show you how to do that in the preferences. But when you double click one of these images, it opens up in what we call the preview window. Gives a large view of the image, a whole slate of metadata here about the image. Then over here is what we call the film strip, and you can that's other images in the folder for quick switching between. And then you can also just use the arrow keys to go that way. You'll see here there's this dotted line. Photomechanic is not a pixel editor, but it can do what we call soft cropping and soft rotation, which means I've set this as a crop, and I can turn this to preview it. And this crop is just saved in the metadata. It doesn't delete any of the pixels. It doesn't actually edit the file. It just saves the crop information. And if I were to drag this into, say, Lightroom, this crop would be all ready to be applied in Lightroom. It would come through. And then in this image, we also see some of these blue highlights. What are those? I need to show those down here. So down here, we have the option in the preview window to show when show lost shadow detail. So these shadows have been blocked up, and you'll see the black here. That's what that is. You can turn that off like that. You have a histogram. This is obviously a very dark contrasty image, so we see this is a lot of dark images here. A darkness in here, and you can also zoom in. We have a zoom control here, and you would use you can either check this box to zoom in, but the Z key is much faster. In general, I would say using keyboard shortcuts is always the key to becoming fast in photomechanics. So using those, getting to know keyboard shortcuts is very important. So D, but I can set the zoom into much more strong zoom and control that here. So yeah, that's the zoom control, and yeah. So this is that's the basics up here of the preview window. There's also some things up here. Like I said, I can do a soft rotation where I'm not actually editing the file. I'm just putting the rotation in the metadata. So I can do that. I can look at the IPTC information by clicking the I key. This will show things like that. And we'll get into metadata a lot more later on in this demo. I just wanted to go over the basics real quick. If I click this one, it will take the photo and open it in my default editor. So if I need to go, if my default editor is set up as Photoshop, just clicking on this will edit the photo in that. I can copy the photo. I can delete the photo. I can view photos side by side. If I want to compare a couple photos, I can do that here. I can do it top to bottom or left to right. I can move the position of the film strip to the top or bottom, depending on how you like that. And then if I want to get rid of some of the other things in here, I can do this to maximize. It gets rid of the film strip and the metadata, and go back here. Those are the controls of the preview window. Yeah, so let's close that and talk a little bit more about preferences, as I said I would get to. So I said I had this set to show the camera in my contact sheet. Let's go into preferences. Now on a Mac, the fastest way to get to preferences is Command comma. On a Windows machine, that would be Control comma. You can also reach them up here in the right in this main menu, the Photomechanic Plus menu. Go to Preferences, and you'll see the keyboard shortcut listed there to help you. And here's the preferences for Photomechanic. Now, there's a lot of, as I said, Photomechanic is used for many, many different things. So there are a lot of different preferences, and the preferences are organized here, and they're split up into many different sections. On this Mac, you'll see it's in this drop down with all these different headings here. If you were looking at a PC, these would be tabs, but it has the same information. I'm not going to cover all the preferences here, but I want to cover just a few, just to give you a sense of things that I like to do, especially if you're new to Photomechanic and things you want to set up to make Photomechanic quick for you. I want to highlight a few of those here. All right, so these defaults are generally good. When you start up Photomechanic, you can open up an empty contact sheet. That's always good. If you do nothing, sometimes you'll open Photomechanic and you're not sure it's open because there's no contact sheet open. So I have it set to open an empty contact sheet. That's pretty basic. On the mount of camera disk, show the ingest dialog. So when I plug in, if I plug in a memory card now, it would pop up the ingest dialog, and I'll get into the ingest dialog as well later. Now I wanted to talk about the showing the data in the contact sheet. So we'll go to the contact sheet preferences here. And we have a lot of different things here. But what I wanted to show is the labels here. You can choose to show the file name plus 2 labels, which is what I've done. You can have it just set to 1 label, 3 labels, file name only. And as we say, I'll just say file name only, click OK. And there we go. We just see the file name. So we save some more size that way, save some more space that way. We'll go back into preferences here. Yes, and you can control like how the date is formatted as well as any different image, any different metadata that you have as part of a file. You can show in the context sheet if you like. All right, and there's a couple other preferences I wanted to show. We're going to do a sample cull in PhotoMechanic. I have a memory card here of some wedding photos shared with us by another photographer friend of Camera Bits, and we'll be going through. We'll do the copy and we'll do a cull, and I want to show you in this demonstration of the cull how I would cull and how you would be fast on a cull. And there's a I would go to the preview window preferences here first of all, and we'll see this section automatically advance to next photo when tag has changed, color class has changed, or rating has changed. This is a preference that can help speed you up. I'll pause here and say one of the reasons PhotoMechanic is used by so many people to save time is that it tries very hard to combine different steps into single actions or single clicks or single steps. If you were looking in somewhere else, something else, and you change the color class of a photo, and then you have to advance to the next photo, we try to make that quicker by doing it automatically. You can turn that behavior on and off here. And then also in the preferences, I'm going to go back up to the preferences here, and under accessibility, I want to show you this preference, the single key shortcut. So during the culling process, I'm going to be adding either star ratings or color classes to images. What you choose to use is up to you. And you can do that fast with a single key. I believe it defaults to color class. So if you use the number keys, 0 through 8, it will set a color class on that image. I prefer to go with the star ratings primarily myself, so I changed it to 0 to 5. And when we get into culling, I'll show you exactly what this is doing. But this is the single key shortcut. Setting this is also going to help you save a lot of time. So that's just a real quick basic overview of some preferences. As I said, there's a lot of other things in here that are fine-tuning your PhotoMechanic experience that you can do. And we have articles on our support site, our documentation site, if you want to dive deeper into those. But those are just the basics that I covered. So we'll go to OK. All right, so as I said, next step is I'm going to do a sample ingest and cull of some wedding photos. So if I plug in a memory card, and I have the ingest dialog set to pop up, here it is, the ingest dialog. A lot of options here that I want to go over. Here's the memory card. PhotoMechanic can handle multiple ingests if you have a whole array of memory card readers or dual card readers or what have you. PhotoMechanic can ingest multiple cards at the same time. This is certainly useful for big events. If you're, say, an editor working with 3 or 4 different photographers on someone and doing things really quickly, being able to ingest multiple cards at the same time is very useful. As a single photographer, maybe not something you need to know, but it's there if you need it. All right, the first thing we want to look at is where I'm going to put these images. We're copying images from this memory card to my hard drive. I'm going to put them in a sort of a container folder, which is the primary destination. Currently, this is set to my personal thing, but I want to do the demo. So let's go into Pictures and Demo. We'll select the demo folder. And that'll be the primary destination. And then within this folder, down here is controlled how you want to create subfolders. Now I'm going to copy all the folders from the card into the same destination. If I had files on my memory card that are already in folders, I can have it preserve those source folders here if I want. But I'm just going to have everything into the same destination. That's the good default. And then I said you can either go directly into your primary folder. Then you could create a dated folder, which will create a subfolder in the demo folder with the date here, as you see. It's also always a good idea to eyeball down here. This is going to give you a preview of where things are going. And then you could do a folder with a name. You could put put a name for the photos here, and we'll go pictures, demo wedding. So we'll try that. And then go back up here. What are we going to copy over? We're going to copy the locked and the unlocked photos. Some cameras allow you to lock images in camera to prevent them from accidental deletion or things like that. A lot of photographers, especially if you're shooting an event and you have a high priority image that you need to get out to the wire service to a client very quickly, you might lock that image in camera and then choose to ingest only the locked photos. That way you can get to those much more quickly. A lot of people will start editing on the card. They'll open up the card and start culling while the images are still on the card. As I said, that can be a little bit dangerous since you're working with the original images. We, as I said, strongly recommend copying the images to the hard drive first, or your SSD or your main drive. But if you are in a hurry and need to get to a certain photo or photos, just lock them in camera and then copy those older here. And then you can choose to copy the RAWs, the non-RAWs. A lot of people shoot RAW plus JPEG. We'll have this set to copy both. And one thing else I wanted to shout out, we have something called the incremental ingest, copy new photos only. Say I were to copy the locked photos only, ingest them, and then now I need to go back and copy the rest of the images. As long as I have incremental ingest checked, it will ignore the photos I've already ingested. So that's a helpful tool here. I'm going to leave this off because I've done this demo a number of times and I've already ingested the files on this card a few times for the demo. So if I turn this on for this demo, I wouldn't ingest anything. So that's why this is off. But normally I would keep this on for my own personal work. Now, apply metadata template to photos. I've called Photo Mechanic a metadata tool, and that's a big reason why folks use it. Not only adding things like captions, keywords, copyright information, but there's a whole host of other metadata that you can apply to a photo. And I'm going to click this and show the metadata template that we're going to apply. We have a lot of options here. You don't have to use them all. In fact, it is possible to go and customize this metadata template to only show the fields that you need. And if you want to doing this fast, I would recommend doing that at some point. But that's sort of an advanced thing. But just know that it is possible. We have things like the title of the image, the caption, the keywords. Here you would put in some copyright information. And there's other information about like the event, the location, different status things, your contact information if you want to put that in. If you have information about the models you're working with. Like I said, a ton of metadata you can add to photos. But one thing I do want to draw your attention to now as a new user of Photo Mechanic is this way down here in the corner, this little lightning bolt icon. If you want to get the most out of Photo Mechanic, become friends with this little icon. We call this the snapshot icon. And anytime you fill out a dialog screen in Photo Mechanic and you see this snapshot icon, that means you can save the information in those fields as a preset. Why is that useful? Well, as you can see, there's a lot of complex things here, and you might have different clients or different tasks or different types of photography that you're doing. Maybe you're shooting real estate and you really need to know the location, so you might have that to fill in. But if you're doing something else, a different event that you don't need this, you might not do that. So you can save different presets for that. I've created a preset just for this particular photographer, Kim Smith Miller, wedding photographer who provided the images on this card. And as you can see, this preset now has information, her copyright information, her credit information, a basic caption, which has a little information here. And some keywords for this. Now, I'll be able to add to these keywords later, but these are just sort of the basic keywords that I'm going to be applying on the ingest. Another key to becoming very, very fast in Photo Mechanic is to do a lot of preparation work, or do some preparation work at least. If you have these metadata templates, and as you can see, you can create certainly a lot of them. And you can, once you have these set up for different tasks, like I said, here's my personal one with my copyright information. I can go to Kim's there. This will just save you a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of typing in the future. So we're going to have we'll leave that here. So we're going to be ingesting these files from Kim. And then you can choose to rename the ingested photos. I have them currently set to rename the photos with a date, sort information, and then the frame number. But we can turn that off. We'll leave that on. And then we have here unmount source disk after ingest. That's always good, especially if you're ready to head out back into the field really quick. You can set it to erase the source disk after ingest. I would never do that. I always want to make sure that the images are set. But if you're, like I said, if you're in a super hurry, you're headed back out to cover the second quarter of the game, maybe you want to do that. Certainly you're able to do that. So that's those are sort of the basic options here. In fact, remember I told you about the snapshot. I have a snapshot for the ingest, and I have one set for this. So let's do that here. In fact, so it's changed the primary destination up here. It actually I have this into the dated folder, then the name. So I have this here, and I have the same metadata template, and we'll set this to unmount as well. But here's the preview where these are going to go. So it's again my pictures, my demo folder. It said dated folder, then the name. So there's the dated folder, and then the name. And you can create these presets for different things. Like I said, if you have personal work, client work, creating presets for different ones can keep you much more organized. So I'm going to go ahead and start the ingest. It's going to, as I said, now you see the status and the tasks here, and here come the images into a new context sheet. They're being copied over. They pop in really quick. And now we're going to go into a call. I'm going to open up the first image, and we'll start our culling process. We'll see the film strip over here. We see all this metadata over here. We see the histogram. Now the histogram, this image looks a little dark, a little underexposed, but we see the histogram, and let's show lost shadow detail. None of the shadow detail is actually lost, so this image would be sort of brought back if you use a raw processor very easily. So it's good. That's why you would use this. If you don't see any of the blue blocked up shadows, then you know the image can be sort of fixed in processing using Adobe Camera Raw, using Lightroom, using Capture One, or whatever raw processor you use. And now I talked a little bit about the single key shortcuts. So the way I do a call is I go through very quickly and I rate the images with star ratings to help me identify them. For me, a 1 is a reject, a 3 is a keeper, a 2 might be an alternate, a 4 might be a highlight, and 5 I might save for things I publish. But because I have the single key shortcut set to star ratings and I have it set to advance to the next photo, I will call just by leaving my fingers on my number pad, my number keys, and I can go through here and I was like, oh, this is a fine photo. We'll do this, maybe a 3. It applies the 3-star. You can see over here it applied the 3-star rating and it automatically advanced to the next photo. So you can go in here and be like, okay, that's 3. Maybe that's nice smile. That's a 3. She's good. But that's I put that as a 1. This is 2, and you can go through and start making these calls. When I do a call, my first pass is usually very, very immediate. My immediate reaction, and I can go through here, and maybe if I start, okay, so this one's definitely a reject. A little bit of motion blur that I don't want. It won, but say if I want to go back and say, oh, I did this, and maybe something go back. Just use my thumb over on the arrow key. I can go back and redo these. So like that. Here we go. Oh, that's a nice clear one. Maybe that's an alternate. We have one of them already. We can go, and then you just go through this and make all these calls. Oh, I like that. I like that shoe. Maybe that's an alternate. Some good dancing pictures. That might be a good funny picture like that. Go through this good. Oh, and say maybe now I'm looking at these two images. I can flip back and forth to, and I want to know which one. But maybe I want to look at them side by side just to see which one I actually want to use. I can do this. And I can do this. I can leave this one up and do other images to compare. So I'm like, if I need to find the best one of a burst of shots, I'll do this. Show me only the 3 stars and above. Or let's go to, give me the 4 and 5 star. Maybe these are the ones I want to process. And I'll drag these. Now, what am I going to do with these? I want to now edit these or bring them to my post-processing. Really, the fastest way I usually do it is just drag and drop. I Command A and select all. It would be Control A on a PC. And I drag these over to, I'm going to just do this with Photoshop, because that's what I use. Photoshop will pop open here, and these are raw files, and these are, you'll see these open up in Camera Raw. Here we go. So here they are, and I can do my Camera Raw edits here, or I would usually open them as smart objects and then apply Camera Raw filter after, but that's up to you how you do your stuff. We'll cancel that. But that's how you would then move these images into post-processing. You could drag them into Lightroom. You could drag them into whatever else you want to use. Or you could use, as I said, the that little edit button. Or if I just hit the E key on here, there it opens up in Camera Raw right away. And you can set that up as well in Preferences. I'll go back into Preferences here, Command comma, and I show under Launching up here. Here's my default application for editing. That's Photoshop. You can set that to whatever you want. If you want to do a separate application for movies or images files, you can do that. If you want to get really fine grained, you can assign different applications for DNGs versus RAWs versus Fuji RAW files, Nikon RAW files, Canon RAW files. If you're using a Fuji, you definitely might want to use like a specialized RAW processor. You can set that under here. Change these, and we can go and find it there with root file. I might do that. I might set that to use like Irradiant Developer or something like that, because that's a good one for Fuji files. But that's it. And then after you're in here and you want to say I did some processing and I saved out some exports and I might view them in Photomechanic, I want to send them somewhere. Photomechanic has an upload template. Oh, I see some comments in the chat that things are frozen. Oh, it looks like there was a little bit of a... Hey, Sport Dad. Jeff, good to see you. Tag here. Lost audio. Can you hear audio now? Looks like Steven says yes. That's all right. Let's see. Thank you, Steven. I don't know why it's not working for everyone. I apologize. Obviously, if you can't hear me, you can't hear my apology. So that sucks. But we will. Frozen for 3 minutes. That's unfortunate. Okay, well, I was just talking about opening files in Photoshop. As I said, I was editing these. I can either drag them to Photoshop. I can either hit the E key to open them into Photomechanic. And then I can go into Preferences. I can set the application that I want. So if I wanted to say, I also shoot with a Fuji and I want to set a special editor to open my Fuji files, I can go in here and set that. If I want to say use Irradiant Developer only on my Fuji files, I can fine tune that in Preferences in Photomechanic. All right. And that's it. That's the basics of Photomechanic. Oh, and then I wanted to get into the uploader as well. Say now I want to send these off to a client or another site. I can open up the uploader in Photomechanic is another very important feature. Here's the file uploader. I can send these images. Where can I send them? I can send them to my Dropbox account. I can send them to an FTP account, my Flickr, if I have a Photo Shelter account. SmugMug account. I can post an image to Twitter, Zenfolio, a lot of things in the uploader. So you can do that. And an important aspect of the uploader is that you can convert files to JPEG on the fly. If I'm working with, say, if I save a PSD file and I want to send that off to a client and they need JPEGs, I don't have to save a separate JPEG and keep track of it. I can convert it to a JPEG as I'm transmitting it. I can resize it. I can say scale it to fit a box. Say I need 1200 pixels on the long side. Photomechanic will save it out as a JPEG on the fly, send it off to wherever it's going, and then it will discard this. You don't have to keep that copy unless you want to. You could save a copy. But if you want to keep yourself sane and not keep a bunch of different copies for different uses, use Photomechanic to kind of do that during the transfer, and you don't have to keep those copies. That's a big one for me personally. I used to keep a lot of different sizes for different magazines. Different publications needed different things, different file names. You could, if I'm sending FTPing something and they need a special file name, I can rename the file as I'm uploading it, as I'm FTPing it. And you can add all these images. That way you don't have to keep separate copies and you keep yourself a lot more sane. All right. So anyone who can hear me, apologize for the audio issues. I'm not sure why it froze. I assume it's some internet issues here with the satellite HQ of Photomechanic camera bits. Apologies for that. You can go back, and I don't know if the audio will be any better on the saved video, but you can certainly go back to the same URL and watch from the beginning. Hopefully the audio is there. If not, this one is a little bit glitchy. So you can go back, and we'll be doing this again in about 2 weeks. We do these getting started webinars every 2 weeks. And we can come back and also reach out to our support team. We have real folks, real people answering the phones. If you give us a call or send us an email from our support site, they can answer any of these questions for you, and certainly many, many more. They're much more knowledgeable than I am, and they're happy to help. We offer free technical support to licensed users and people on a trial. If you're using Photo Mechanic on the free 30-day trial, we'll still give you free tech support. Anything you want to set up, if you want to learn how to do the uploads or different metadata questions, definitely feel free to reach out to us. There's a contact page on our website, and we also have a special site just for documentation. It's called docs.camerabits.com. That's docs.camerabits.com. I'll put that in the chat. And that's our documentation site. There's help articles there. There's tutorials on different things. There's YouTube videos as well. Steve says, how do I change my copyright info on my IPTC? I use the copy tag, but I need to change the data. Well, let's take a look at this image. So let's, for example, let's open this one. And you can either click this I or just hit the I key to open up the metadata info for this image. And here's the copyright. Now I can just go ahead and change this if I want. Maybe I want to say take photography out of the copyright field. Just hit OK, and that has now changed. If I go back in here, actually maybe it didn't save it. So that's right. Maybe, no, it took it out of the copyright. That's right. And so yeah, if you need to change the copyright information in your IPTC, just do it in the IPTC info window. Once again, that's the fastest way, is just to get used to using the I key. Opens it up. You can change any of this information is editable in this dialog. Hopefully that answered your question. And that's it. That is the basics of using Photo Mechanic. As I said, there's a lot more other things you can do in terms of adding watermarks, moving files around, using variables to rename files or create automatic folders. Definitely could go into a lot more tutorials. As you can see on our doc site, we have tutorials for those. But this was the basics. I hoped it helped you get started with Photo Mechanic, and dig into it, and hope it saves you time. That's the main thing with Photo Mechanic, is to save time. Steven says, I tried to change in my preset, but keeps reverting back. Let me let me go back into here one real quick. So if I want to change this and say I want to, I want to save this as a preset. I would save it. Now, if I want to overwrite this existing preset, just choose it here, and then it would overwrite the preset with whatever changes. So I might save the settings in here, and if I want to overwrite the existing preset, I would do it that way. Or I could save it as another one. 2. And now, there we go. They have the second one in there. And if I go into manage snapshots, it's going to open up the file on my computer. These are saved, and I can just delete that if I want to get rid of that. That's gone. So that's how you manage those if you need to clean those up. All right, I hope that is it. We're kind of out of time here, so thank you very much for checking in. We'll be doing this again in 2 weeks. Probably we'll cover the same material, but if you wanted to, if you missed out on some of the audio, hopefully the internet will cooperate better next time. Apologies for that again, but thanks very much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks a lot. I've been Mick from Camera Bits.